r/ask Reddit. What's the stupidest thing you've done at a family gathering? Got drunk in front of my great grandmother and started to shit talk my entire family in a baby voice to my baby niece. While the entire family thought I was out of line, my great grandmother thought it was hilarious and that I had valid points. In my defense, I have epilepsy and was having a partial, or a mini, seizure which caused this. I go into the kitchen and a few cousins are standing there with my aunt. I say sandwich, I think, but my brain was literally just reset about 20 seconds ago and I'm operating at an ultra dumb level. I remember this primarily because there was aftermath to recollect. I took mayo out of the fridge and just throw a spoonful, I think, at the fridge. I then take out cheese and throw it on the mayo, followed by turkey at the ground and bread somewhere. I look at it and just walked away. My family did not know I had epilepsy at that point in time. That was the icebreaker. It's deconstructed. Not me but my dad, as a kid, took a shit in the fireplace and went around bragging about it. My grandma still brings it up to this day. Hey, the fire is dying, can you put a log in? Sure, unbuckles belt. I inadvertently went to a strip club with my parents when I was 22 years old. My mom had been ordering pizza from the new bar down the street and was raving about it one night. So we decided to go check out the new restaurant and try their pizza, just me and my parents, instead of having it delivered. As soon as we pulled into the parking lot, my spidey senses went off, as I knew this place was known for having some seedy people hanging around, and it's always been some sort of strip club. But I thought, no way, my dad would know if it was a strip club. He's gotten pizza from here several times now. I couldn't have been more wrong. That voice in my head was telling me to turn around and run as soon as we parked, and two men were standing at the door sharing a pretty raunchy story with all sorts of lovely details as we walked up. We walked in the door and as soon my family entered, it went silent. Every waitress and bartender stopped and looked at us. The strippers even stopped and stared at us. I turned to my dad and before I could say anything, my mom says, "It's a strip club." My dad, being the stubborn man he is, says, "I don't care. I want pizza." Never in my life have I heard of a strip club even selling pizza, let alone offering delivery. We sit down. I strategically place myself so my back is to the strippers, and we place our order. 45 long, painful minutes waiting for our pizza and having small talk while two very overweight, out of shape homely girls take off their tops. Thankfully that's all they took off. Danced a few feet behind us. My mom finally asks where our pizza is and the waitress comes back and tells us she forgot to put in the order. That was the last straw for my mom, who quickly paid the tab and we left, hungry and scarred for the rest of our lives. We still laugh about the day we went to a strip club together for pizza. They shut down a few weeks later, so I never did get to try the amazing pizza my parents raved about. I don't care. I want pizza. Your dad is my hero. Not me, but at Thanksgiving last year my dad once brought out photos of the car crash that killed my grandpa and passed them around to my mom and her family. It was her dad that died, and he talked for like an hour about how bad his death must have been. It was painful to watch as he had only died recently. Why would he do that? Cause he's a pose who did not see anything wrong about it. My brother had been overserved and was passed out on the floor in the middle of the group. He was only wearing gym shorts. Suddenly he woke for one brief second and pulled his shorts off. Was not wearing underwear. He had no idea where he was. He was just laying there nude in front of maybe 20 people. It all went completely quiet until my uncle spoke up and said that son of a bitch is hung. Funniest thing I have ever seen. Well, if he's gonna make an ass out of yourself and pass out, at least he got complimented while doing so. Not me, but my oldest cousin on my dad's side said this at my great grandma's funeral. Imagine if she moved. TBF. When I was a teen at my godfather's funerals, I had to refrain a crazy laughing bit imagining just that. While my parents were crying their eyes out in the middle of church, my godfather used to be a huge prankster and I suddenly imagined him just sitting up saying, "H.A. Gotcha all, you losers." He wasn't religious at all, was young, and I had seen him a few weeks prior, so the whole thing, along with a very religious ceremony, seemed very unreal to me. My parents still talk about that to this day, saying I got my sense of humor from him, meaning I laugh too much for my own good, haha. I was with a friend, Dennis, at his family reunion. He sees his cousin arrive with a friend in tow. My friend greets his cousin he hadn't seen in years with, "Hey Joe, you crazy coke sucker." His guest gets in Dennis's face very hostile about his phrasing. Dennis pretty much greeted everyone as a cockasucker, but the other guy insisted there were better ways of saying it. Nobody knew the cousin was gay before that, and in a small town it was a hell of a way to come out. Got absolutely hammered the night before and passed out in a snowdrift at the family snowmobile party. Fell off my sled and just lay there waiting for death to take me. Death took too long, so I got up and went back to the group. I'm pretty sure my dad knew what was up and felt that slogging around in the snow all day might teach me not to do that again. He was right. Haven't gotten out of control drunk since Christmas of 1995. I have done the drunken death just take me lie in a snowbank a couple of times. I asked my brother-in-law how his dad was doing. Had significant health problems, forgetting that he had died 6 or 8 months prior. Still dead. And yours? Still not back from going to the shop for milk. My cousin. How stupid is your cousin? Well, I mean, they did agree to sex with a family member. At least I hope it was consensual and not a vegetable in a wheelchair cousin. I was home from college on break and we were playing Trivial Pursuit. The question to me was something along the lines of, what adult movie actress has the last name that sounds like the last name of the star of Hawaii Five-0? I knew the Hawaii Five-0 star was Jack Lord. Thought about it for a minute, then blurted out Tracy Lords. My parents just looked at me like I had just produced a severed head from my pocket. Oh man. I bet whoever wrote that question did it with this exact scenario in mind. Genius. Something similar happened to me while playing You Don't Know Jack with my cousins. Question asked which of these was a male porn star, or not. I don't remember. Someone used the item to force me to answer and I had to guess. I guessed correctly. Defiantly some odd looks, especially since not of us were adults, and I was the youngest. Tell my sister-in-law that her kids, my nephews, are why I don't want kids. I ruined Thanksgiving because I was too high. I've shared this story before, but when I was a teenager I got a weed brownie from my dealer. I had never had an edible before, so I was super excited. I decided to eat it before Thanksgiving, that way I would have a nice high and all this good food to eat. He warned me that it was strong and to only eat half of it. I ate the half and after like 15 minutes I wasn't feeling anything, so I decided to eat the other half too. I didn't know that with edibles it takes a while to kick in and wasn't instant like smoking. By the time dinner came by I was very stoned, like too much for my own comfort. My aunt and uncle were there too, along with my little cousin who was like 4 at the time. I went upstairs to join my family and thought I could keep it together long enough for a quick dinner and nobody would be the wiser. That was not the case. I was so stoned that I could not look at anyone, so I just awkwardly stared at my food and gave one-word answers when my family tried to talk to me. It made things incredibly uncomfortable for everyone. After about 15 minutes I could not take it anymore, so I just picked up my plate and went downstairs to my room. My mom followed me and wanted to know what the hell was wrong with me. I admitted to her that I ate a weed brownie and was incredibly stoned and asked if she could just leave me alone because I was too high to deal with things right now. She was cool about it and waited until I came down from the intense high to yell at me about ruining Thanksgiving dinner. Edibles don't kick until they hear you're talking shit. I once had a middle-aged college professor who said he was back east for a family reunion and mentioned he had a hot tub. Later, he overheard 2 of his aunts around the corner. Do you know he lives in California and has a hot tub? Oh. He seemed like such a good boy growing up. Pretty sure people talked about me like this when I moved to California from Georgia. The southern perception of California is hilarious. I wanted to throw an empty bottle of water at my cousin and I hit my sister instead. It was a wedding. My sister was the bride. It was Thanksgiving last year. I was playing Quiplash with my family. I entered my name and the next thing was my aunt asking who is rock hard, double quote. One Christmas, my family gathered at Graham's for dinner. One of my cousins brought a karaoke machine. This turned into everyone participating, but not just participating, being made to pick a song and sing and dance in front of the rest of the family. Horrifying. So many terrible vocalists attempting to win a Grammy. So I'm paired with my cousin, brother, and uncle. We decide to pick something easy. I don't recall what, but it was an upbeat, does not require vocal talent type of song. As we sing, we're kinda throwing up hand signs as we're going. Well, my hands don't exactly cooperate and I end up throwing 2 giant middle fingers up. I died a bit inside when I look over and see an aunt is recording my awkward childhood, immortalized forever. Got drunk and told one of my grandmas she was my favorite, in front of my other grandma. Ouch. Once I walked into a baby shower for my cousin's wife and sat down in the biggest chair of honor, right in front of everyone, including the pregnant woman. My mom looked like she wanted to die. On my husband's side, all the women are house elves during family gatherings, and for years I figured showing up with food and booze was enough of a contribution. It wasn't. House elves like the slave ones in Harry Potter, waiting on the men hand and foot? According to them, not being married for the 29th consecutive year. At that point I'd not marry out of spite. I hit on my cousin not knowing she was a cousin. I'm part of a really big family. I went to a quinceanera for one of my cousins met this beautiful girl. Her and I were flirting pretty hard back and forth when my mom walks up. Oh good, you met Dana? Yes, your second cousin from your cousin Rita's marriage. I know some might say second cousins are different, but not in my family. Luckily my mom noticed and warned us as things were getting hot and heavy. A few knowing uncles and cousins were nudging each other. We were both pretty embarrassed and unsuccessfully played it off that we were just joking around. We did become really good friends still after that, no weirdness, and it's def a funny joke between us now. Told my very religious great aunt that the only god I believed in was Thor. This was right after seeing the first Avengers movie and I was still pumped at it. It might have been cringy, but yeah, I'd say this to a hyper-religious person to see their reaction. I'm religious myself, but it's still fun to watch them get angry and can't articulate their reason why. At my brother's confirmation, the whole family, almost 60 peoples, were sitting outside in the sun drinking coffee. I had a big idea as a 12-year-old to show them all how badass I was at doing saltus on the trampoline. Guess what? I was a little too fast when going around. So I took the salto and my belly slammed down hard enough to beat the sickest fart out of me. I was just as surprised as the rest. Got wasted. I just lost about 70 pounds and my alcohol tolerance had gone with it, though I hadn't really tested it recently. And my husband's, then boyfriend's, family really likes wine, and I just kept topping off my wine without really paying attention to how much I was drinking. I became an uncoordinated mess and almost broke several gifts by accident. And I was still not the worst drunk at the party. 2 other people also got wasted and had a screaming match in which I was blessedly not involved. Took an edible before walking into the gathering. Was probably the most likable and social version of myself. It was awful cause then they expected me to be like that at all of the following ones, and that's just not realistic as the gay cousin of our traditional Christian family. At 4 years old, I sat on my grandpa's birthday cake. They'd put it in the seatless back of the station wagon, where I had to sit, but neglected to tell me it was there and didn't have a cover over it. I was probably distracted plotting my next mischief and didn't notice I'd plopped my crazy little butt down on it. My little tights and dress were covered with frosting and the cake was shot. Seriously, though, they shouldn't have been surprised. I never sat still. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.